you are in the insanely unique position of testing your resolve on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we get, like, this is one thing that's a huge issue with the best athletes in the world. We get caught up in the moment and we forget everything that's ever happened. We forget our strategy. We were gonna go 9 and 7. You coach 16 unbroken. You like that? Now we're doing Now we're doing 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Before you start, just go and then start speaking.
Is that every time I respond today?
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. And if you follow misfitathletics.com, you are beginning week 2 of phase 4 today. I almost said week 1 because there's sort of that test week. And then we have 2 through 6 is very much what we call internally the meat of the phase. That means that today is your very first day of the volume back squat phase, block.
Day.
Unfortunately, this hurts a little bit. I got to give a shout out to Hunter. So again, we normally have the strategy in the past. We normally have the strategy of putting this volume cycle in phase 1. And not only are we preparing you to peak your clean and jerk in comp block 1, which is next, but also you are entering the phase stronger with better movement patterns, which is something I think that's really important. You know, typically you would go through the summer and sort of have that, like, you know, maybe you do a little bit more outdoor aerobic stuff. You don't lift quite as much. You're not really in the zone. So to have it in this place and I think have people more used to our style of strength cycles and all that and linear progression and cleaning up movement patterns and making people a little bit faster. I am much happier with test week than I normally am. I'm always happy coming out the other side with the way that I see people move, even if they don't PR when they come out the other side. But I can tell that they've had 3 phases worth of getting ready for this.
Just from a timing perspective, as far as the back squat, I think one, like it kind of works out well because we've talked about it. The open isn't quite as significant for a lot of our community members. So we, do the back squat now, the clean and jerk next phase, which I would say is more sport specific if the clean and jerk can be sport specific to CrossFit. But I think there's a lot to be said about athletes being just like confident with their strength.
Yeah.
And like internally, we know that that's not like, if you don't perform well, and I'll put this out there, like, we want you to be strong going into the open and quarterfinals, but your strength is not the reason you didn't qualify for semifinals, in 90% of cases.
And you proved this in an article that people could go back and reference. I don't remember what it's called.
The strong enough to go to the games or something like that. Yeah. So, and it only matters if you make it matter, so to speak. So I think, like I said, there's a lot of value in being comfortable with the heavy weight and like going into the open with confidence that in quarterfinals of the open, when they have that heavy lift or whatever it is, like you feel better about it. Mm-hmm. But certainly not at the expense of your fitness, which is, what we do.
I think the confidence thing is the biggest factor that people are going to enjoy kind of going up into comp block 1, was the, I haven't taken this long period since we last did a really big squat cycle. It feels like I haven't trained super heavy for months and months. And now I'm getting thrown a test that might ask me to do a 1 rep max. And I feel like I haven't had that strength or that opportunity to develop my strength. Well, now you have this opportunity directly before the season kind of gets into full swing to make sure that, you've spent the entire year fixing how you move. Now you take that skill work and you transfer it into strength work, which means that you can combine those two to create power, which is what our sport tests day in and day out.
And the other thing that I'll say about test week and where we're at currently is just that culture shift that's so exciting for me. Every conversation that I've had so far this week and every message that I've received has been about either their Maffetone test or the aerobic CrossFit test. And
It's great.
That's the perfect segue from Hunter saying, your back squat's not the reason why you're not qualifying for these things, right? So having that culture shift and having athletes comparing these certain things, I would say, the comparison is the thief of joy definitely applies to the Maffetone method. Do not
ego's terrible.
When and where it shows up is going to be totally different, right? So don't go in and compare that. Also, like Austin was saying something about comparing his to Luca. His heart rate, he's 7 years older, so his heart rate is 7 beats lower. So he's being in those places. So that there is no 1-to-1 comparison. The machines are going to be totally different for you versus running, biking versus rowing. They're all going to be very different and based on musculature, your age, all these different things. So be careful in terms of comparing that. Thinking of Austin after saying that, I do have to give him a shout out because he was the only person that I saw that directly followed my advice when it came to that, aerobic test. So, basically what people did is they either assumed for whatever reason that they could hold a 145 row for basically 24 minutes, knowing that the other movements are metabolically more demanding than that row, as a whole, coming back to the rower. So essentially,
yep, I'm with you so far.
I walked up to Austin and said, what happens on the rower stays on the rower. But what I meant by that was it's the only true variable. If we were to go into the open and it was AMRAP, 24 minutes, 40, what did it start with? Wall balls?
20 wall balls.
20 wall balls, 300 meter row, 40 double unders. If that was the case, your top 10 scores in the entire world to the naked eye would look fake. They would look exactly the same as their counterparts, and the rounds would look exactly the same. And that's because the only variable that there would be at the highest levels is their row average, round to round, and over the course of the entire thing. If that is the case, then you need to begin at a rowing pace that makes that possible. Like I watched him I was doing my Maffetone test on the treadmill, and then I was over doing some, accessory work, and I watched him, and his transitions stayed that way the entire time. So all of these people who he would admit are better rowers than him, better at the cardio style workout, better at a 24-minute AMRAP, he beat them because he knew that that's the name of the game. And this is the time of year where if you forget that, if you get that wrong, you lose to someone who is not, who's not as fit as you. So, but again, just to sort of cut that short now that I've gone long, if that makes any sense, it's just nice to see that culture shift.
The athlete IQ thing is super important. There's some conversation you and I had actually yesterday when we were talking about this exact test, is that those movements have a finite speed. There are things in CrossFit that we do that can only be done really at one speed. Like, yes, you could maybe argue you could go 32 wall balls in a minute versus 34 wall balls in a minute. But that's not a huge variance in a workout like that. Or, someone could do 90 double unders a minute or 110 double unders a minute, but that's not a dramatic change. So the transitions in the row are the game there. And to me, it's using the entire season and asking yourself, hey, I've taken all this information in. I need to now use it when it matters. And we are getting very close to that part of the season where all the data you've collected now needs to be laid out in front of you, and you can make those connections between this is how it feels going at this pace versus that, how it goes at that pace. The transitions matter more in this workout. How I'm efficient in this workout matters more. So it's an opportunity to take the year's worth of work and start being very, very focused and understanding how things are going to play out, so that when you go into a piece like this, you're not trying to guess in the middle of it. You've done enough work throughout the entire season to be confident that your approach is the right one. And, he had a conversation with me before it because I did it early in the afternoon, and I was just like, I held somewhere between a 154 and a 158, and that allowed me to stay pretty tough. You'll be tougher in the transition, so try to hold somewhere around there and be tough, and he did, and he is evidenced by him beating everybody that I've seen by a good margin. So
yeah, and I think before moving on, it's important just to say I'm disappointed, not mad. I will be actually mad if you do that again in retest week. So anybody out there that just decided I all of a sudden am the best rower in the world and can row in the 140s for 24 minutes with all these other things
your
mixed
fitness
in.
Detected that was a lie.
If you have been living under a rock, I'm only saying that because this is our podcast.
It's not that bad.
A CrossFitter's Guide to Zone 2 training article is up, misfitathletics.com. Click on the blog tab. Is it a tab? It's a link. I don't know.
Blog tab.
It's something. Click on the blog link and then click on CrossFitter's Guide to Zone 2 Training. Make sure as this becomes the like thing of the moment and it's exciting, that your morning movement and your weekly work, that's where 2 of the 3 days live. Those are the 2 mandatory days. The non-mandatory day is that Tuesday in line with the programming. So again, if you're like sort of skipping over that because you have your own version of morning movement or weekly work, you are going to miss out on those sessions. And I will say I've gotten some fairly hilarious messages that will probably come up in the Q&A today. But if you don't know what I meant by 180-age, that means for me, I'm 35 years old, 180 minus my age in math, 180 minus 35 is 145. Carry the 9. It's not on the elemental chart. That's what that means. So if you were looking at it and you were like 180-age, what the hell are you talking about? That's what that meant there.
I remember going into our spreadsheets and being like, people are going to fuck this up. Like not people being like everybody else is stupid. It's like, we are not communicating this. Like, it's not going to be clear. Like, this is people. Is this a math formula? Is this like a header? Like, what is this? So
yeah,
it is a math formula.
And then I want to say thank you. I would say the most positive feedback we've ever received came from phase 3. And I just want to say thanks to the people that reached out. It makes us feel good. It gives us proof of concept. Feedback doesn't have to be positive. So just thanks for reaching out and letting us know those things. We take a really deep dive into how we program, why we program the way that we do. You know, we review what we did last year during this time and we make adjustments. So to know that there were specific things that felt like they really moved the needle even more than usual within phase 3, us knowing that is super important. And then of course, the other side of the coin is like I typically go into advice giving mode at this time when there's negative feedback, but sometimes it is just straight up like, yes, we want to make an adjustment when it comes to this stuff. Quarterfinals prep camp at Misfit HQ, March 12th and 13th. You can get your tickets at misfit.camp. With the athletes that we know that are signing up from our affiliate, we are in the single digits for available tickets left right now. So if you're on the fence with this, you got to start making some moves there, or tickets are going to sell out. And I really don't see a scenario where we add more tickets just based on trying to give the best experience that we possibly can, making sure that there's a good coach to athlete ratio, all that good stuff. And if you have signed up or you're thinking about signing up and you're trying to figure out your travel plans, we've said it before, but March 11th is 22.3. And we would like you to come do it with us at Misfit Gym Portland. Once you sign up, you will eventually get an email to whatever you signed up with telling you how you can sign up for that, all that good stuff. So March 12th and 13th, misfit.camp for Misfit quarterfinals. Prep.
It is for everyone. I've gotten a few DMs about this specifically.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to waste your guys' time. I might not be the caliber of athlete. This is not hey, if you don't go to the games, you're wasting our time. This is literally for anyone who's interested in improving their capacity and want to know more about the sport, or maybe you're a coach and they're trying to figure out like, what can I pick up to bring back to my affiliate or to my athletes? So it is for everyone. Just want to throw that PSA out one last time so that if you're on the fence and you don't feel like it's for you, it is.
You know what's also for everyone? Coming and talking to us at Wodapalooza next week. We definitely get some people, and the 3 of us definitely understand it. We get some people that want to come say hi and talk shop and shoot the shit and just feel like, I don't know, we're fake CrossFit celebrities or something like that. We would much rather be standing there talking shop with you than doing some other things that come with the level of notoriety in the game. So that we prefer hanging with the community and doing that. Please come up to us and say hi. We will be at the Sharpen the Axe booth a decent amount and, you know, sort of in the back coaching and running around doing all that crazy stuff. But we will be at Wodapalooza. Come see us. The gear's pretty dope too.
That's lots of good gear.
Good.
We're not going to spend too much time on this, but we are in the past or future, depending on how you want to look at it. And someone by the name of David Castro was fired last night by CrossFit HQ. it's one of those things where it's like we don't do like a news segment and like get into that, but this is like such a big thing that not saying anything about it also feels kind of weird. I would like to see a bit more, hear different sides of the story, know what sort of went on. I can't say I was shocked that it happened right before the Open, but I can't say that I was super surprised just in terms of, I think, where they want to go with image, for better or worse. Not going to make a comment on that, but where they want to go with that, and maybe some of the connections to the old HQ and all that stuff. What I can say is, sort of as a shout out, and I've told this story before, but I learned more about what CrossFit was and what programming should be like, and stimulus, and like all the seeds for what we do from the very first Open workout than I did from anything that happened before that day. So, the community was all local competitions. It was all 700-pound deadlifts and muscle up back flips and all that. And then he said, how about some power snatch and double unders? And like, it was like, oh, that's the lightest barbell ever. Whereas now, like we all know, even a 75-pound barbell is
atrocious,
dangerous.
You can make it hurt. So I will give credit where credit's due. I think he's, for better or worse, also in certain times stuck to what he believed was sort of that right path. And for the Open to start that way, like that truly set me down a much different path with the way that I thought about working out and coaching and programming and all that stuff. You're put in a body bag by the simplest things that there were. So I don't know if you guys have any comments, if you want to stay away from it.
I mean, I'm not surprised by what happened. It's one of those things where the new leadership came in, there was that old guard, new guard type of thing. And, I know they tried to send him to like leadership things because he obviously has a background in leadership. He was in, he's a Navy SEAL. He has some level of responsibility working on that team and then more the CrossFit Games. But to me, it just feels like an image thing.
To who?
It just seems like an image thing. For CrossFit, they're trying to find someone new that they can put at the front there that they probably think will kind of maybe walk the line a little bit more and kind of be with the company ethos versus someone that could potentially go a little bit wild card. And I appreciate the villain aspect of it. I think it was kind of a fun thing they probably played out maybe a little bit too much, but the change of hands, I'm sure it's going to end up in the right person's hands eventually. I don't know if it will forever be Justin Berg, but excited to see how that goes. And I don't think anything's going to change.
Eric, I'm available to program the games.
Oh, all right. There you go.
There's your soundbite.
Yeah.
This is your team right here.
You need a guy. Need the guys. Yeah, I'm not, I guess I'm not necessarily surprised. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me to hear that it would happen eventually, but I don't know. I guess I am a little bit surprised because I'll say I'm a little bit surprised given that, like, the openness of what seemed like, Castro, hey, if you want to keep your job, like, you need to make some changes. And it seemed like that worked. And so I'll reserve like any comments on that until we learn a little bit more about what and why that happened. I think my only concern with it is that, like, I would be concerned if CrossFit starts to go like in the complete opposite direction. Like, we go from complete and total like grassroots with Glassman, call it whatever you wanted, but like it was much more of just like, hey, affiliates, you guys are on your own. And I think that was by design. And now I'm worried that the pendulum is going to swing so far in the opposite direction with, somebody who's been successful in business for such a long time. And I don't know nearly enough about business to like contend with that, but I'm worried that CrossFit is going to trend in a direction of just like almost like everything else, like this massive like political correctness movement of not being able to have somebody like Dave Castro who's not afraid to tell somebody how it is, or like maybe talk a little bit of shit to an athlete or something, or like someone in the back, like if someone does something stupid and Castro like points it out or something like that. I don't know. I guess I worry that the direction of the sport is, and CrossFit as a whole is going to go like fucking soft serve, like creamy soft serve on me. But I think that's probably an exaggeration on my part, but because I respected him. I understand that there's a line there, but I don't.
Reminds me of like the tip of the spear thing from years ago. It's disappointing to me. You know, the idea that this was fringe at first and only like the operators and the serious athletes of the world did it. And there was that attitude to it early on that it's this mystical thing that only like these elite athletes can do. And that kind of trickled down to the affiliates. And I think that carried CrossFit for a long time. So I agree with you. I don't want to see it swing fully in the other direction where we're told what to buy, what to do at our affiliates. So there is that level of, I want to live somewhere in the middle, and maybe Dave's no longer the person to carry us into the future, but I also don't want to swing completely the other direction either.
I think there's a lot too. And I was talking to Caroline about this morning, is that Castro was also part of the CrossFit Games experience. Like as an athlete, like you knew what you were getting into, and you were, as an athlete, you're like, yeah, I want to go to the games because I know this dude's going to fuck my shit up. Like he's going to this will be like the hardest physical thing I've ever done sort of thing. And there's the element of like, yeah, I'm going to take on that challenge. Like Castro's been running people through a cheese grater for 10 years now. Like I want to get me in line. I want to be there. And I think I would not be surprised to hear athletes come out and say like, there's a little bit something missing about the season, about maybe the motivation to get there. Not that
proving them wrong was a big part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not that athletes are like, oh, I want to hang out with Dave Castro. It's like, no, I want to break his workout like we saw him do this year with the yoke carry and the sandbag thing. Like athletes like that. They're just like,
sure,
they want somebody to be able to be like, hey, fuck you, man.
But to play devil's advocate, then athletes never know when the events are, when they're supposed to be anywhere. Like there's a level of like, and I don't even know that was his job, but like that mystique portion of it, a lot of it was literally just
maybe that's
I'm not
what it
knowing
was.
What the hell is happening.
Maybe it was an internal team thing. Who knows?
You watch the 2018 games documentary, they're testing things up to like an hour or two before the event actually kicks off. So that is a very realistic possibility that they're not fully sure what things are going to go like until they're doing those last minute things, which for an athlete trying to prepare themselves, and there's the whole like a line about unknown and knowable, just feels a little bit unprofessional. And I'm sure that probably irks some of them that they got to go hang out in a corral for 2 hours standing upright before they have to go do a max lift or something like that.
True. All right. And perfect segue into today's Q&A episode. Again, we're going to try to make sure that we have a Q&A episode at the beginning of each phase or competition block. We are also currently in the process of building the Misfit Athletics Discord server. If you're not already on Discord and know what it is, one of the things that we have been trying to figure out over the last handful of years is this idea of the attention economy going away from blogs and websites now to social media. And then it's moved into places like Discord or Clubhouse or, who knows, Twitter Spaces, Live, Instagram, all of these different places. We want somewhere for the community to be able to come together, one singular place, and be a community and talk about things and get exclusive access to, to certain things, because we know that you've sort of taken that extra leap to get into the community and talk to people. So keep your eye out on our social media for that, to figure out how to sign up and how to join. We've got channels in there for the MFT program, for the Hatchet program. We can talk about workouts. You can post scores, ask people for advice, whatever it is. We're really trying to find a singular place to bring the community back together and communicate, because that is truly the roots of how we started. And I think it's something that we have to figure out how to bring back together. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And now Q&A.
All right, we're going old school. I'm going to moderate these for you guys. We'll start with these two questions just because they kind of happen outside of the question and answer podcast, but we still felt that they were important to answer. So from Sarah321Go, I have a question about the Maffetone method. I'd like to get better at running, but I'm wondering if it will translate over into the sport as much as rowing, for example. I'm probably overthinking it. I was also wondering if doing steady state cardio twice a week is a good idea. Like if I did one day of rowing and one day of running. I appreciate you guys.
So running
I want to
is
tackle the last part of that.
running is probably the best one that you can do, just because, again, we talk all the time about supporting your own body weight being out there. One of the things that can happen is you can make a real big change to your slow twitch musculature in your legs, which will translate very well into your front squats and your, this and that, a bunch of different movements where you would feel that fatigue. But without that breathing component that you get from supporting your body weight, you're sort of leaving certain things on the table. So there could be a particular athlete who has a pretty good motor, but legs burn out all the time. And then I would stick them right on the C2 bike. But I believe that running is, if there was one thing that someone was going to do, that's what it would be. In terms of how to choose and how often to go, on the Misfit Athletics programming, you are going to see 1 day a week where it's non-mandatory, 1 day where it's in your morning movement, and then it's also going to be in the weekly work. So we believe up to 3 times per week is appropriate and necessary for certain people who are trying to develop that stuff. I don't know. I mean, Hunter alluded to wanting to address part of the question. For me, I would need to know more about the athlete to know whether I would ask them to run. I don't think I would ask an athlete to run 3 days a week. I don't think the return is there in terms of what would happen to your feet and your ankles.
The pounding's definitely difficult there.
That would be challenging. So I would have to know more about the athlete, but it's definitely okay to mix up the machines.
I think you can definitely build into, if you were to try to run 3 times a week, like you said, I don't think it's necessary for a CrossFitter necessarily, but the way that I heard the second half of that question is like, would it be good to do 2 sessions? I think this is a question that other people might have because I've answered it before, and it's just like, am I going to get weaker by doing more of the slow cardio? And
can I chime in? Anyone seen Sophie Schaff recently?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, yeah, you can talk about her next. But from personal anecdote is that I've done it. I've been doing it for a couple months now. I guess probably closer to 6 months because I was doing it over the summer. At least probably twice a week, almost religiously, sometimes even a third or a fourth time in the week if I'm for 45 minutes or so, if I'm feeling okay, or if I want to do something a little bit lower intensity. And I have gotten noticeably stronger after sticking with just affiliate class and then occasionally adding the additional
and you had
aerobic work.
Some injury tweaks, which I think sort of plays into this, where I don't know how your knees are doing recently, but the idea that you're going to get weaker by developing a secondary set of musculature is kind of silly. Yeah, no, I think if that's the only thing you do, then sure. But I think there's so much unexplored territory within the strength and conditioning community about mixing the extremes of our modalities. No other sport is doing find a 1 rep max deadlift one day and then a 60-minute Metcon the same or the next day. Right. We don't have data on that, but based on myself, Sophie, Caroline, just about as many athletes as we've run through it as possible, nobody's getting weaker. We don't need to go back and be all right, let's get the strength back up to match the aerobic capacity. The aerobic capacity is going up and people are getting a lot stronger. I think you need to be very careful of, let's say for argument's sake, you work out 5 hours a week and now you work out 7 or 8 hours a week. Yeah. I think what people are referencing without knowing it is a calorie surplus or deficit. So if you're going in and training your way to an unwanted 20 or 30 pound weight loss, then that's going to be your problem. And we all know mass moves mass. So even the same person with that, similar musculature that weighs 20 or 30 pounds less, that is going to be an issue. I've somehow gotten heavier, but I'm not going to attribute that to Zone 2 work. I would love to hear the connection. Me too.
more cookies.
I don't think you need the full. We've done that on 4 podcasts. So
all I was going to add to that was the fitter you get as a whole, the stronger you're going to get. One of the best strength accessory programs is getting in better shape. And this has made the biggest difference in her training. was adding more of this long aerobic work in, and it's clearly indicating that she is getting fitter and stronger. Because in the last, I don't know, month or so, we've PR'd 5 or 6 different lifts, with lifting being the least, important element in her training currently.
Think about it like this. So another personal anecdote, we've started our back squat phase at the affiliate level. Monday was our first 5x5, and I noticed as I kept getting, and I've obviously squatted between then and prior, but like I probably could have rested like 2 minutes and been fine.
Yeah.
Like after a 5x5 session, usually my legs feel like bricks. They're just fatigued. I finished the session. I'm like, okay, like my legs didn't feel any different. And that translates hugely
That's crazy.
to the ladder, the death by, all those sorts of things.
Wait. Going slow a couple times a week is better than like toe spacers and, leg squeezers and secret
48-inch deficit handstand push-ups.
Exactly.
And for me, I think it makes sense that you're talking about like your legs coming back quicker, and one of the worst workouts that I've done in a very long time, the affiliate version of the ski front squat interval. My heart rate settling in the rest period is like dropping like 20 beats lower than it normally would. Yeah. Like some astronomical number. Normally I stay in the orange, and now I'm all the way down in the blue and the green. And it's lovely.
Problem now is that I have to try a lot harder in Metcons to like
shots.
Well, I'll finish and I'll be like, I didn't feel like it kind of hurt, but I didn't feel like I needed to try harder.
You dropped a new engine in there.
Yes, yeah.
Got to get after it.
I dropped a fucking Ferrari engine in a Camry.
What's wrong with Camrys?
Mercedes. All right. What you got, Ted?
All right, Jared, do you want me to read this whole question from Holly?
Yep.
It's a longer question.
You can feel free to summarize.
All right. So from Holly Myers, this came through our support channel here.
I hope you listen to the podcast.
I'm wondering if you have any podcast episodes on getting back into the game after a long break, or would do one in the future. I'm by no means a games athlete, but I'm pretty competitive in my local gym. Loved Misfit workouts, easily landed in top 3 to 5% of the open every year. Since switching gyms and starting a new job, I've completely fallen off the wagon. The mental block of realizing I can barely complete a piece or two of hatchet is almost greater than my physical capacity. I'm trying to get ramped back up without injury, and my brain and body fight to figure out what's my true physical ability now. So advice on getting back into the gym after a long time off.
I know we pass it over to Sher, but I might have the best. Go for it.
Not an easy thing to answer right up front, but my first thing I'm going to say
God damn it,
is going to be, hey, what brings you back? What's the thing that has inspired you to want to get back in the game? Because that needs to be the baseline question. What about getting back into being competitive is the driving factor? And hopefully for you, it's the enjoyment of seeing what your body can do or trying to push yourself to that level. I have personally experienced this, having gone through getting pretty fit, then kind of falling out of shape, then getting back fit again, falling out of shape. And this is something that we've talked about recently decided I want to try to be a little bit more competitive again, which means that I'll have to do a little bit more training than I had been, because I've been doing like affiliate stuff. And we actually joke about this every once in a while, where people in like affiliate class, seeing as we were former competitors, start to get a little close, and we're like, you know what, we got to get back on the zone too, or make sure we don't skip our squat days.
Sher's easy code is loud.
I don't give a shit about my score as long as
no one gets close.
As long as nobody gets close to it.
So I think having the right reasons is step one, and then step two, realizing that's not going to happen all at once, and maybe pick like the low hanging fruit there and try to find the biggest thing you can make a change in early on to try to see if you can re-stoke that fire that got you excited in the first place when you started being a competitor. For a lot of athletes, hitting that first snatch PR or winning a local competition, or just kind of having the like pat on the back of, I enjoy racing my fellow competitors and it feels good to like race. That can be the reason why you go back into it, but I would like you to start with figuring out what the why is and making sure that's a solid reason that's not going to change. Like in a week from now, when 1 week it's I did a great piece and I feel excited and I want to be a competitor, and the next week I have a bad squat session and I'm like, throw the papers in the air, fuck all this.
You want to go? You look like you're excited to answer.
No, I'm going in clockwise order. Okay?
I think yes, that's an important part of it. You should establish like I think not to say that wasn't a good answer, but it's establishing. It's to me that it's more about reestablishing like your own expectations and certainly goals. It's like, are you going from I was really competitive to I dropped off completely to I'm getting back in the gym, or is it more just like I was working out, like the hatchet level stuff was great for me, I had to take some time off, now I'm just getting back and trying to get back to that point. Either way, I think the best thing you can do is have fun with it, is to give yourself a little bit of a break for the first, couple weeks or month or so, just whether that means taking affiliate class instead, which I can't recommend enough for that sort of thing. But it's also just like do things that you enjoyed. Like if you were doing zero fitness before and now you're looking to do fitness, any form of fitness is going to move the needle. And so if you're concerned about having the motivation internally, like do the thing that is going to make you exercise, and you will slowly start to rebuild that confidence and obviously your overall fitness. And then you can, start to get back to where you were. But don't overdo it. You're not, you're probably one of those athletes who is capable of anytime I take like a week or 2 weeks off, or I'll go on vacation and come back, everybody knows that feeling. The first couple workouts annihilate you, but it's like, and the problem is that I know that I can like go really hard in this workout. What's going to happen to me after? Like, we'll find out. And if that's going to put you in a grave where to the point where it's like, I can't even work out again the next day, then you're kind of nullifying the whole point. So ease back into it and just do the things that are going to make it worthwhile or fun.
Yeah, this one hits me in the feels. People thinking, the combination of people thinking that I am fitter than I am, and people having an expectation of what the owner of Misfit Athletics should have for a fitness level or regimen or whatever, has literally stopped me from exercising for long stretches of time. The idea of being so stuck in the competitor mindset and not being able to live up to the expectations, setting expectations for myself that had no business with, being in the same neighborhood as my fitness level. So, my advice is to start a new chapter. Start a new chapter today. You go into the gym, and this is your first time in the gym with a new mindset and a new attitude, a new goal. And you compare yourself to this new chapter each time you go through. So I'll give you an example. In the past, if 8x500 meter row with 1 minute rest came up in class, it would be really hard for me to hold under a 2 minute pace for the entire thing. Cue the laughter. What I would have done in the past is start in the low 140s and go up to like a 205. I would have been somewhere in that range. So yesterday I was like, I'm going to hold a 158 for this whole thing, which I still wasn't sure that I could do. I held between like a 151 and a 154 the whole time, which is really fucking good for me. With my old mindset, that never would have happened. With my old mindset, I would have been comparing myself to an expectation set by somebody else, or an expectation that, maybe even for Holly, it's an expectation of who she used to be as an athlete. So it's just really important to start over, in comparison to yourself is really important, but it's comparison to yourself in this chapter. So you got your first squat session coming up, and you're only comparing your second one to your first one, and keep moving through that.
I had an affiliate athlete ask a similar question, and they actually, like, I didn't even prompt them to say this. I can't remember who it was, but they were basically like, yeah, it was someone who was coming off of a pregnancy, and they hadn't trained for like 2 months or so, a month or 2 months. And they were just like, yeah, I'm going to basically treat this as if like I'm relearning everything. So any poor movement patterns and stuff like that they had, they were like, you know what, that's old me, kind of exactly like you're saying. And now I'm going to relearn all these things that coaches were telling me to do, but I had ingrained so many bad habits in my mind that I just couldn't make those corrections. Well, you also have a pretty good opportunity now to, fix the nuts and bolts of things too.
Yeah, my timeline to be happier and live longer is much longer than like I got to get ready for the Open. So I can take it 1/10 of a second at a time. All right, Misfits, just a quick break to shout out our show sponsors and hopefully save you a little bit of money. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. Normally, we say you can head to sharpentheaxeco.com, but you can head to the Sharpen the Axe booth, Bayfront Park, Miami, Florida. This week, we are going to be at Wodapalooza. We have been holding on to some really, really cool shit, some stuff that you haven't seen in a while, some exclusive items. If you buy all of them there, then people won't be able to buy them online, and you'll feel even cooler.
You'll feel better about yourself.
Let's say there is some left over when we get back. It could potentially make its way onto the site, and that's sharpentheaxeco.com. Use the code word Kiala, but it is important to say we can't wait to see you guys and show our gear at Wodapalooza.
We're also brought to you by Pure Spectrum. You could do Pure Spectrum CBD. Use the code word Misfit to save on any order. A big topic today is how can I get more from the training? Q&A podcast, lots of questions. One of the best ways there is to supplement your recovery. Pure Spectrum CBD has awesome products for that regard. You got salves, you got tinctures, you got gummies, and probably have some, what is that? What's the soak that you do? Epsom salt bath. They have tons of products that are all about your recovery. So again, you can head to Pure Spectrum CBD. Use the code word Misfit to save on your order.
And you can also head to properfuel.co for your pre and post-workout nutrition. We got the pre-stim and non-stim for those of you who maybe work out in the latter half of the day, don't need that caffeine bump before you head to bed. For you early morning warriors, God bless your soul. Grab the caffeinated version, slug that thing, 2 scoops, 20, 30 minutes. Leave
scoop.
Leave time, 1 scoop. 1 scoop. 2 or, I don't know, 4 or 5 scoop. 4 or 5 scoops. Just have a plan for the bath. No, just kidding. And your post-workout nutrition. I am going to pack, 400 or 500 of these single-serve packets to take to Miami. They're not for you, they are for me, but you can get them at properfuel.co and use the code word Misfit to save on your first order.
If you like our YouTube channel, our podcast, the content that we put on Instagram and all these other crazy places, the best thing that you can do to support us is to head to misfitathletics.com or the Team Misfit .com website for your affiliate programming. You like that? You like that? The SugarWOD marketplace, if that is your style. You can also head to misfit.camp and sign up for quarterfinals prep camp March 12th and 13th. 9 or less, who knows at the time that this airs, tickets are left. So get in there, get signed up, learn some shit, have fun with the community, all that good stuff. We'll see you there. All right, back to the show.
All right. So this one comes from Javi GC97. 2 exercises to recommend to your worst enemy.
Ooh.
How are we going to answer? Is that a, like, I hate you, I want you to die sort of thing? Like, I want to haze you? Or is that like the 2 exercises to make sure that they never get anywhere near my fitness level?
You are overthinking this, my friend.
2 exercises to recommend to your worst enemy. Wait. Thrusters and assault bike.
Mat sit-ups and
that is what they're looking for, just without the attitude attached to it.
The attitude. Okay, sorry. Fair enough. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm trying.
Just say thrusters and assault bike again in your nicest voice.
We'll treat it like, what is the worst 2 movement combination in the history of the planet? And it's. I feel like it's got to be like either like thrusters and burpees or rowing and burpees. I feel like rowing and burpees is just it will fuck you up 10 times out of 10. You could fuck up writing a workout with thrusters and burpees and make it like less good, but you're gonna have a hard time making a rowing and burpee or bike and burpee workout not
running
effective.
Assault bike.
What's that?
Running an assault bike. Might be a little biased there, but
that doesn't sound like it.
I am going to up the ante a little bit, running with a sandbag, because you can't really, and I do mean running, you have to jog.
What's that like?
Because you're referencing something where I can do those things, just go slow. And probably burpee box jump overs. That really seems to, it's for me, I like that I get to be a little bit more dynamic, but if I had to watch the pain and suffering of the community at large, burpee box jump overs really fuck people up.
Yeah.
Bad.
I just like the accessibility of burpees. It's like,
no matter where you are.
Are you guys so excited for the sandbag run burpee box jump over workout that just got programmed in my head?
Fuck.
No.
I'm gonna be sick.
I'm skipping it.
All right.
Nice. Good question.
All right. This one comes.
Fucking
I wanted to be clear of the stipulations. You got to give us details if you're going to ask one like that.
You don't need to give me details. I know what you were asking.
All right. This one comes from unofficial Rob Paul. Thoughts on whether or not THC should come off of the banned substance list?
Hell yeah.
I mean, this is a much larger topic. It's silly, at least in the United States, that people drink themselves to death and deal with hangovers and crash cars and kill people, and that there's still prohibition on a plant that does like a percentage of that, most of that to people. That
allegedly,
that I think might give my answer as a whole. I do believe though that you're only not allowed to have a certain concentration during competition. If I remember correctly, based on the rules, that's how it is within a lot of governing bodies right now. They don't test for it. In USADA, Nick Diaz was the guy who was stoned in the ring, and that's how he got in trouble. Sounds fairly unsafe. There could be some issues with head trauma. Maybe why he made that decision and what would be bad about it. They've gotten rid of it in the NBA and the NFL. So I believe the time is coming for that to change, but I don't really think it's that much of a rule now anyways, to be honest. So either.
I look at it as medicine. So I mean, that's the way I think of the marijuana plant is it's medicine, and THC helps some people, deal with some things that maybe we better use for like therapy, but also you should be able to medicate yourself if that helps you. It allows you to be less anxious and allows you to sleep better, or maybe it helps you eat if you're someone that doesn't like to eat, and that's the medium that helps you. I have a problem with it. I live more in the world of like, certain things probably should be illegal, but to me, this is not one of those items.
Yeah. I don't really see it as performance enhancing. Like if that's the baseline question.
So there's within that list, there are like, you can't test positive for this, and you can think of a million different reasons why it would be the case, but you cannot do like illegal drugs. I don't think it's considered performance enhancing.
I suspect it has a lot to do with the fact that it's just still federally illegal. Right. Maybe once that goes away, it won't be an issue. But from like if clearly it doesn't matter that much if the NBA and NFL have stopped testing for it. So I don't see it as something that's worth like restricting what an athlete can or can't do.
Right.
All right. While we're on the topic of substances, Ryan Daniels, 33. Why and how does alcohol affect progress?
I actually listened to a talk at my freshman year at college, and they brought all the athletes, and I think it's probably more of a like, hey, don't binge drink 7 nights a week, kind of like one of those PSAs. But what's actually interesting about that is that it affects your recovery immensely. It affects with your ability to REM sleep and create like new skills and new, build information. And then more so for performance, it essentially resets your enzymes in your body that are cued in 7 different directions, either upregulated or downregulated to help you perform at your highest level, and essentially wipes the slate clean. And I'd have to go back and like, we were sent notes on this, so I could go back and tell you exactly what enzymes were affected north or south. But the interesting part there is that your body, as you train more and more, makes organic adaptations inside your own tissues to propel you to be either more powerful or have better endurance, and that a lot of this stuff gets deleted or erased or reset because of alcohol abuse. So I don't see as alcohol serving in the same way that maybe marijuana does. I do realize that some people use it to unwind. I would just be very cautious of that. If performing at your highest level, you think that you can also binge drink. I mean, there are professional athletes that do have that, like Jordan Pryor, I think is the guy from the Bills, the safety that has had a problem with alcohol and obviously plays in the NFL. So has clearly overcome that. But for more often than not, I think it impedes your ability to perform at your highest level. So why would you want to put a substance in your body that's going to impede your ability to perform at your best?
I don't think I'm quite smart enough on this. The only thing that I remember reading or learning about it is basically like the way that it's digested, is that almost all other processes like within your body, and please one of you two correct me if I'm wrong, is like stop in order to process the alcohol. So if you're drinking it, like let's say at night, it's almost like, it's kind of like doing a workout, like right before you go to bed, your body starts to allocate all available resources to digest the alcohol and get rid of it in your system. And that'll prevent you from getting into any sort of deep sleep or REM sleep and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the answer is actually extremely simple and probably just a little bit meaner than what you said.
It's poison.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's ethanol. So you go fill up your car and it tells you how much ethanol you're putting into your tank. That's what is making someone have that feeling of euphoria. And it's poison to your body. So when your body knows that the poison is coming in, just like it would, have a overreaction to, an immune, challenge or something like that, you have a virus, whatever, your body is not going to do basically anything else. Your body's number one goal when there is ethanol within your body is to burn it. That's why it's a diuretic. That's why, you get hot when you drink alcohol. That's why bad things happen when you drink alcohol. That's why your stomach gets super fucked up when you drink alcohol. Not only does it mess with your gut biome, but again, you're not going to digest very well while you're drinking. So, I mean, I'm sitting here saying that it's poison and all that, and I've been known to have a Chardonnay or two. So
what of it?
It's really just a personal choice. If you're a serious athlete, if you're a serious athlete, it does not belong in anywhere near your normal routine. Not even in with the fucking vicinity.
I mean, there's a reason why you see CrossFit Games athletes at the end of the season like, I'm having my celebratory beers, because they've spent the entire season avoiding those things because everything in their day is about how do I perform my best.
Right. It's all pluses and minuses. If you have so many credits in that side, you have this tiny little debit, it's not a big deal. If you don't work that hard and you drink a bunch, you're fucked in the sport of CrossFit.
We won't hear of you. It won't happen.
All right. This one's from Guts Justin 24. I don't know if it's Guts or Goots.
I like that.
Not really a QA, but kudos to you guys for keeping me motivated 99% of the time. Wonder what we're doing that 1%.
What's the 1%? I want to know.
Thanks for the thank you.
Shout out to you.
That's our goal,
buddy.
Nice work.
So the next question is from J.Aesthetics. What's the program week look like during the open?
It's not going to change.
We're not fucking leaving.
Next.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give a little more context. Historically, when the open comes around, because of its importance to the season, it was, hey, we train Monday, Tuesday, flush day Wednesday, primer day Thursday, workout execution on Friday. Saturday and Sunday get shifted around a little bit depending on what you want to do as far as a retest on one of those, or even on the following Monday. And in the past, athletes will retest the open workout on Monday, and then do like their additional training, kind of business as usual. That open workout was just basically a training piece for them. This year, I don't remember if we did it last year as well, but there's not going to be a schedule change. We'll provide some like recommendations as far as like, hey, Thursday, probably don't just completely sit on your couch and be a piece of shit, but Friday is going to be do the open workout. Also, here's your training for the day.
Yeah. The only real thing that I can say is they did move up. The open announcements are going to be at noon Pacific. So we are still going to be recommending people do it on Friday, because do you want the answers to the test or not? You watch some people do it, you hear, you get as much feedback from different sources as you can. And then you go in,
When did they announce
and
that?
then you go in and tackle that. So, so we don't have to stay here until
fucking time to be alive, huh?
until midnight. And then the other thing I think that might be worth noting is the rest of Friday is based on you doing that open workout, and Saturday has like 10 trillion pieces programmed. And you're going to go in and really kind of mix and match based on how you feel, what you think about testing, all that. And we'll make sure that you guys know what we want you to do on Thursday and Sunday. But we think people should treat it like preseason for quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals will have a slightly different schedule, though.
Well, yeah, because you just do quarterfinals.
Yeah, but the week leading into it.
Yes.
Do them.
Okay. This one comes from Shell.Duncan. Interested in doing further coaching for coaches, mentoring, etc.?
Yes. Long-term goal is to have a Misfit credited course, essentially, where you come to a camp somewhere, Misfit HQ, someone else's gym, We teach you how to be an affiliate coach. We teach you how to be a competitive coach. We teach you how to program CrossFit workouts. We are a small but mighty team over here. We're working on growing that team, and we will not release that product until it is the best that it can possibly be. So yes, that's definitely out there. I would be personally extremely interested in doing, it's kind of a topic of the times right now, doing a mentorship program. I do not have time to currently do anything like that. So a lot of this stuff is just based on Misfit Athletics growing. If you want Misfit Athletics to grow, you can head to misfitathletics.com and sign up for everything.
Yeah. In the meantime as well, like feel free to, slide in the DMs and ask us specific questions. That's something I always want to make sure that, Misfits out there know that they can do is reach out to us, ask those questions, because I agree with you. We don't want to put out an inferior product. We want to be very proud of what we put forth. But in the meantime, if you have something that you're curious about, we all started that same way, being curious about this profession and ways we can improve. I think we all started with ourselves and we kind of expanded to other people, but we took the time to find information, and maybe you have a question that we haven't thought about before, and that sparks a whole new line of conversation and potential podcasts and topics for the programming moving forward. So if you have something specific, please reach out to us with that. We'd be happy to, talk shop.
In the meantime, quarterfinals prep camp, really good time to come and you just because you are quote an athlete doesn't mean you're not going to be paying attention to the coaching. Or
it might be more important as a coach.
Yeah, or just obviously
just look at it through a different lens.
on the side about it. If you're local, come by,
talk shop,
come talk to us. And like Sherb said, the DMs, we put a lot of stuff out there on the Team Misfit Gym's Instagram.
I thought you were gonna, this question I thought was teed up for these two pretty well. Teammisfit.com is an amazing coaching resource, and the hours that these two and Kyle put into the sheets, when you go in and download and look at, the stimulus and the notes and all of that, I think one of the best coaching resources out there is you or your gym being subscribed to Team Misfit programming and getting like a daily look at how we're programming, why we're programming, what those notes are.
It's the exact same program that we run usually whenever the tip videos that come out for we typically will post tip videos the day before the class. So obviously coaches can see that, assuming they're following along with us. And barring, us saying okay, this class is, I'm going to teach something different for this class. We're also teaching pretty much the same stuff that gets put in the same sheets. We're all playing we're all playing the same game here. So
true.
We got the Team Misfit Discord coming in as well. We talked about the Misfit Athletics one. The Team Misfit affiliate programming one is also in the chute.
Boom.
All right. This one comes from Megs Fiber and Grain.
It's Megs from the gym.
Thoughts on strategies for goal setting over the next year for the progressing noobs?
I don't always want to use the SMART acronym, but specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented, which I know is a mouthful and a kind of a dorky acronym, but it actually does work. You want to set parameters to goals.
Put your Yeezy jacket back on if you're going to drop that.
But seriously though, you need to have the opportunity taken to sit down, ask yourself where you are currently, where you want to go, and are there checkpoints along that journey that are realistic that you can get to in both the short term, 2 or 3 week bout, then the month, then maybe a quarter. So 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and basically like breadcrumbs on a trail. Each time you match one of those goals or meet one of those goals or surpass one of those goals, that stokes the fire to keep going. So I'd essentially sit down with a piece of paper and you say, what do I want to be able to do? Are there certain things that I can't do now that I want to be able to do? And then find someone that's willing to have that conversation, that has enough experience, like maybe one of us three over at the affiliate there, and say, hey, how realistic is it for me to say I want to get strict muscle ups in 6 months? Or how realistic is it that I get my first handstand push-ups in 2 years from now? Those things all are on a different timetable depending on where you are currently in your current fitness level and what you choose to do kind of with your life outside of the gym. But come up with those ideas and then find a resource that can help kind of steer those ideas and give them a little bit more of a roadmap from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think so. I'll tackle the question from almost just purely a training perspective and give also this actually applies to everybody regardless of your level, is just and the questioner is a member at our gym. And one of the things that we really, really try to hammer home, and I think that our athletes do a really good job of, is understanding like the stimulus of the workout and how to either self-scale or just ask a coach in order to meet that stimulus. Because at the end of the day, you like doing the workouts in such a manner that like allows you to go fast, basically, like kind of grassroots CrossFit fit, like power output, like and scaling is the fast track to that progress. If you're somebody whose ego is big enough that having that RX next to your name, or checking that box in SugarWOD, whether you're an MFT follower and an affiliate athlete, if that's the metric for success, that's a much slower climb. Not saying you're not going to get fitter and not achieve those goals at some point, but it's the wrong way to go about
slow
it.
Path. It's a very
slow path, and I would say it's riddled with the potential
steps
for things like injuries and stuff like that. Just so law of fuck.
Law of fuck.
Law of fuck.
I don't know that one. Can you tell me the definition?
within the zone of proximal development is what I was gonna say. Do things that are just hard enough.
Now you need the
for
Yeezy
you
jacket.
Just hard enough for you to challenge yourself and push yourself, but not so far outside of the realm of your capability that it's deleterious.
Realistic but challenging goal. Chop it up into tiny, digestible pieces. Achieve it through just showing up, working, and then reassess.
All right.
Check.
This one comes from Goki11. If you're weak in squatting, what program do you suggest we follow?
Phase 4.
I don't know.
Comp no. Training fit, no. Misfit Athletics.
Got him.
Well, actually, so this is yours. You go, and then I'll.
Oh, it's mine?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh, man. Well, there's too many answers to this question. MisfitAthletics.com for sure. We're currently in that back squat peaking phase, the Misfit Athletics volume back squat cycle, squatting 3 days a week. Please make sure that you have an accurate 1 rep max. If you decide to use the one that you did in high school that was like 4 inches above parallel and the moon was in the right spot, you're going to be in a fucking grave in about 3 sessions. About 3 sessions. Alternatively, if you're not a subscriber, or maybe you're not following the program currently, you're just looking for that program, you can subscribe and then head to our weakness templates where the back squat program actually lives, as far as like just the squat program itself.
If you want to dictate your own timing.
If you want to dictate your own timeline, we have a couple on there. That's like, we're working on 1 rep max, but we have a 3 rep max. And then like if you're looking for a Google search program, the Texas method is about as straightforward as it gets, like 5x5 and then 5 rep max, and just go back and forth until the cows come home to roost. And I've never
Cows roosting?
Cows come home to roost. I was trying to think it's a Mighty Ducks quote. Grow up. But I have never not gotten stronger from where I started to wherever I decide to finish on the Texas method back squat program.
There's a sort of a secondary answer. If you are perennially not good with your squatting, or if your squatting positioning and skill transfer to the clean and the snatch is not there, your technique isn't there, there is a 20-week squat progression that my top 2 male athletes just went through, Luca and Austin. They both PR'd, and not only did they PR, but they PR'd with the type of squat that has, an upright torso and the hips not getting sent back and all that good stuff. They both PR'd. I'm going to be giving that bad boy away for free in a spreadsheet. All you need to do is type your 1 rep max in, and it plugs in your numbers all the way down through. So we're going to be giving that away for free at misfitathletics.com. Obviously, committing to a 20-week cycle is crazy. And Austin, I got to give him a shout out, is the first person to ever follow it to a T from start to finish.
Good man.
Other people quit. Some people have local, competitions they got to get in. Some people have injuries. There's a lot of different reasons why you could have something go wrong, but it is only once a week. That is one of the things that's good, but it's 20 weeks long. We're going to drop that bad boy for free. Just because it's like, I dare you to do this sort of a thing.
Like for a little bit of reference. So Austin had previously a 435, I think he said yesterday, like 435 pound 1 rep max back squat.
Touching.
He squats with his heels touching, basically. Very narrow stance. I remember watching him because you and him talked like, hey, we got to widen out your squat stance. And I remember watching him do his 1 rep max back squat 20 weeks ago
with the wider stance.
And it was the not worst, it was the least comfortable looking 375 pound 1 rep max I've ever seen an elite CrossFitter do. And that's pretty low, respectfully.
Yeah.
And then he did the full 20 weeks and 65 pound PR relative to that. So he all time PR.
He did a 375 double in that same stance last week.
Yeah. So wider, improve the movement mechanics, kind of like you were talking about, and a 5 pound lifetime PR, which is, if you're saying like, oh, it's only 5 pounds for someone of his training age and capability, and the fact that he changed his mechanics, that's unheard of.
True.
Last thing, feel yourself. Make sure that after a session like that, you are putting in the amount of nutrients you need to grow from said session. I think we addressed doing it, making sure you care about how you move, but also make sure that once you are done those sessions, you are fueling yourself properly so that you can get
cool
back
down, stretch.
Exactly.
Fuel.
There's so much more to getting strong than just doing said 5
Ben
by 5.
Havey hit a 15 pound PR. He finished the volume squat cycle the other day. 15 pound PR.
Only 15.
Only 15, yeah. It's only a professional athlete, so.
All right. This one comes from Undercover Fit. Do we ever have deload weeks? LOL, just wondering.
So this has changed over the years with Misfit Athletics, but deciding when an athlete needs to deload can be very, very challenging. It's very personal. And what the two things that we rely on, number one, our most serious athletes all have a remote coach. You can apply for remote coaching. It is it's a big ask, both from you personally, buying into it, and, I think it's reasonably priced, but it is, obviously more expensive. There's a financial element to that. So, we listen to our athletes as remote coaches, and when we think we need to knock the volume down, we do. We have every week 6 during our off-season phases. You have what we call primer week, where the workouts themselves and potentially the weights are not considered deload-esque, but they set you up to get back into the mindset of like, this is, at the end of the day, I need to be able to attack individual workouts really well. So giving yourself the time and the space to warm up properly, cool down properly, maybe race somebody else, maybe set your strategy, have more intention when it comes into the pieces. So your deload will be there every week 6. And then I would, sort of self-modulate that a little bit. And a lot of our athletes take more of a deload in retest week. The coaches will go in and pick, these are the 3 or 4 things we really need to focus on. And when you're training at that level, 4 semifinals and 4 the games, just knocking down volume has a lot of a deload effect. So.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add was that some athletes that ask for a deload do that for one single day, and they're like, this is fucking boring. I need to get back into a full swing of things. So you should use weeks 6 and 7 to kind of figure out what is the right amount of volume so that when you restart the following phase, you are like hungry and like excited to start it, not like, holy shit, I just got hit by a bus and now they expect me to do like these 3 tests today. Like you should be feeling excited and like ready to get back into the new phase when it starts. And that's not to say don't skip your, retest. If you definitely need to retest something, retest it. But keep the volume a little bit more reasonable so you are that athlete who is hungry for.
It's also okay to go on vacation as a CrossFitter. I'm just going to throw that out there.
What?
Yeah, I think just the only thing I'd add to that is be willing to dictate your own deload. As for me personally, something that I've kind of tried to I don't know. I every time I PR something, I'm like, that was the last time I'm ever going to PR that. And that ends up not being the case. And I've tried to think about why that is. And I think it has a lot to do with consistency. I don't take a ton of I don't take like a full dedicated deload week necessarily, but if I'm not feeling great for 2, 3, even 4 days at a time, I don't have a problem being like, I'm just going to do my Maffetone stuff, or I'm just going to go surf if I can, or I'm just not going to train. I'm going to go for a walk or get some sort of movement in elsewhere. And that seems to be sufficient enough for me to just maintain, a very consistent training schedule like year round without completely beating myself up. So if you're feeling beat up, it's okay to take a day off or cut out a little bit of volume and do that for a couple of days.
And beat up can be mentally too. You might just need the breakaway from exercise to reset your headspace, because you start to not be excited about going into the gym, or you're not sleeping like your normal amount, or all of a sudden you're not as hungry as you normally are. Those are all signs that, hey, you might be ready to take a slight reduction in volume, or maybe even, like you said, a full handful of days off to allow your body to heal and recharge and to get you excited about going back into the gym.
Also, if people are interested, slide into those DMs and let me know. We can do a deload weakness template, so you can at least have something there to be like, okay, what should I do during this week if I'm really feeling beat up?
All right. This one comes from Mr. Rainey. When will you guys do another Goon Squad freestyle episode?
I mean,
I'd love to do it tomorrow.
What was it? The 200th episode podcast?
No, you guys did a Goon Squad freestyle like weeks before that.
Yeah, we just came in here and had fun and shot the shit.
Did you guys know Hunter's on this podcast?
I didn't know I was on the podcast.
Oh,
who am I?
I don't know.
I'm down anytime.
I don't know. We'll do one tomorrow.
Next week. Let's do it.
Yeah. We'll do it again.
We're in Miami next week.
Perfect.
Roadcaster, bring it.
Bring the Roadcaster.
I'll
set it up on my pull-out couch.
I'm gonna mute you, Hunter. From Ryan McKay. Why is the hardest part of CrossFit believing in your own capabilities?
Fuck,
that's a deep
slap
topic.
Me with that on
I think it's Hunter's turn.
Is it your turn? I think it's your turn.
I think it's Hunter's turn.
No, he just answered.
Goon Squad. Yeah, we'll do it later.
We'll do it later.
We'll do it sometime. Can you say it one more time? What's the hardest part about believing in yourself?
No.
Why is this?
I did prepare for this because I saw it early, but I'm still going to make Hunter do it.
Why is the hardest part? Why is the hardest part? I'm gonna go way off the beaten path here. I'm gonna say that it is because humans are biologically more attuned to negative feedback and negative information than they are positive.
Okay. Answer a question with a question. What other part of your life are you dropped into the desert and have no clue what to do? What other part of your life are you presented with these immense challenges, right? CrossFit is so mental because you are fit and you are strong and you are skilled and you are capable. And then it tells you how you're not on a very regular basis within a specific moment, within the type of moment where once you're beyond your aerobic threshold, you are telling your body that you are in panic mode. Your body is reacting. It's mobilizing to attack. And if you can't understand that those biological responses are you doing them to yourself on purpose, you're going to go down the path of fight or flight. Mm-hmm. You have a choice of either I'm no good, this sucks, this isn't fun, I thought I was going to be able to accomplish this. Or if you have more of the other side of the mentality, you get punched in the face and you laugh and you say, oh, you're going to...
How often have you done a workout where you're like, man, my chest to bar pull-ups felt great. And then you go do another workout and you're like, yeah, they felt great last time. They're going to feel great this time. And you feel like dog shit. Like and that happens. How often does that happen to everybody listening? Like
right.
Every day,
so you are in the insanely unique position of testing your resolve on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we get this is one thing that's a huge issue with the best athletes in the world. We get caught up in the moment and we forget everything that's ever happened. We forget our strategy. We were going to go 9-7. Fuck you, coach. 16 unbroken. You like that? Now we're doing Now we're doing 1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1. Like we forget what's happening within the moment. So there's so much to remembering. I did this to myself on purpose. I want these challenges. I want to be put in the worst position possible to find out how I am personally going to react to it, so that when there's a bunch of shit on the line, I know I've been there. And that's one of the reasons why variance is our guiding principle. And one of the things where when I do a debrief with an athlete post competition, the best athletes are like, on August 12th, you made me, and they list off something I don't even remember we did. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you made me do this. And so when it came up in competition, I was like, boom. And you guys made it heavier and it was more reps, or you told me I had to fucking stand up on a 14 damper. You just stand on top of the bike and use my arms, whatever it is.
Use your teeth.
Like these moments within the gym, we are proving to ourselves what we're capable of. And you hope that sort of training your resolve and your grit translates to a qualifier and semifinals and games and all that.
The only thing I would add is be careful of what you're consuming outside of training, because I think that can affect athletes a ton. They get lost in social media. They see all these athletes who are all snatching 400 pounds and running 2-minute miles, and they're just feel inferior. So take the time to do an audit on what you consume outside of training and try to find people that you could talk to about training in a very positive manner, because I do think that can push athletes away from that positive headspace where they always, like you were saying earlier, like comparison is a thief of joy. If you're always comparing yourself to other people, you might always constantly be feeling less than, because you're going to probably seek out the person who is best at said activity and know that you're not the best, and then be instantly like, I'm terrible, where you might be 0.1 seconds per 500 slower on your split than they are. And all of a sudden to you, because you are slower, it becomes I'm terrible, not I have something to work on. So just be careful of what you're consuming day in and day out, and make sure that it is fueling you in the positive direction as opposed to pushing you away from being the confident athlete. I mean, fuck, we watched that kid come here and just demolish workouts the entire time he was here.
He demolished a workout while he was here and then took another minute off of it.
But, I mean, that's the crazy part there. So like obviously a huge amount of fitness there. The hard part, again, believing in yourself, it might come down to nothing more than what you're consuming in your non-training hours.
I want to add just one thing to what Drew said. That kind of made me think of it is like I think people underestimate a lot of times how nice it is to be like to have how important stability within like your daily and like weekly and just like your life is in general. And what I mean by that is like on a day-to-day basis, everybody has some semblance of a routine, and everybody also knows like how kind of weird the first couple days of vacation are. It's like, this is actually more stressful because I'm not able to be in my routine and all that stuff. And when you're
ready to quit your job on day 7.
Yeah. It's like you like when like, yep, nothing bad happened at work today. Nothing, I woke up at the normal time. Like everything was completely status quo, and people a lot of times people think that's like a measure of failure of some sort, when in fact that's like, hey, things are going great if everything's pretty stable. So that's like big picture. Then you zero it in on a CrossFit workout where it is entirely, unless you've done that exact workout before, it's the equivalent of just like you wake up in fucking North Carolina at 4 a.m. and you're just like, yeah, figure out your routine now. Like, what am I going to, like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know where I am. I don't know where's my phone? Where's my chart? Like all those little like panic moments that you have, like that is the microcosm that is like a Metcon, so to speak, unless you've done it before.
In our New Year's resolutions, I don't know if I made a commitment. I sort of referenced being a bit more open. If someone in your life when you were younger told you that you weren't good at something, or you weren't capable of something, they can go fuck themselves, okay? Get rid of that shit. So fucking many people have that baked into them. It's not real. It's someone else's narrative, and it's because somebody told them the exact same fucking thing. They're throwing that shit in your face. So if you have that baked into you from parents or coaches or relatives or whatever, teachers growing up, that shit needs to go in the trash, because it's bullshit.
All right. This one comes from KJ Eldpaul. How much does a deadlift affect your CNS? And is there a difference in high reps and low reps?
I mean, as things go, a 1 rep max deadlift is one of the greatest things that you can do to, I don't know, kick your CNS in the nuts. Like it's pretty incredible. The research on it, though, is not done on CrossFitters. CrossFitters are seeing if they can delete their central nervous system on a very regular basis. See if I can get rid of this thing. And when you overreach, you eventually either quit or become a fucking cyborg, right? So it's definitely one of those things that just requires so much of your nervous system and your musculature to come together. Like you can't lift a heavy weight off the ground without getting your nervous system, firing in a way that's attaching to all these different muscle groups. So that's one of the ways, that can fry you out. That being said, we don't ask athletes to do that very often. It's not necessary. It is a show of, as we talk about a lot of times, it's a show of power, not that much in terms of a development of power. So we leave it where it belongs throughout the year. And yes, you can change that. One thing that's amazing about strength and conditioning is the volume that you put in within a given session matters a lot. So 300 pounds times 5 reps, 1,500 pounds lifted, whatever. We can manipulate those, and our, lower rep ranges moved at faster speeds, higher set with a lower weight, whatever it is, those things do not trash your nervous system in the same way a single, 5 deadlifts at 100 do not trash you the same way as a 500-pound deadlift. Might be the quicker and easier way to put that.
I don't have anything to add. Agreed.
Good enough.
Okay. This one comes from Serhan Yapar. Why do you not prefer to program classic CrossFit EMOMs in training?
Oof, I like this topic a lot because the EMOM is a very personal thing for a lot of athletes. And while we will try our best to ensure that when we deliver an EMOM on our programming, that it's kind of overreaching or working on something very specific, I think a lot of athletes like to use EMOMs because it's a great way to kind of move around on like a lower intensity day. And I truly believe it's a tool that should be used, but I think a lot of programs overemphasize the EMOM style because they want you to be able to say, all right, you can be done in 40 minutes or you can be done in an hour, because it allows you to do that because you can fix the clock from the jump and then get started.
While Hunter is still short circuiting, EMOMs are not classic CrossFit. I don't mean to be a dick, but as an OG, a proud OG,
21-15.
Yeah, you're looking at more, 3 rounds of this. That's more of your classic CrossFit. And all an EMOM is essentially is an interval, like with a defined sort of potentially defined rest period or rep range, which we do every single day with intervals. It's a different style of interval. All that being said, we use EMOMs as a way to shake things up and have variance within the way you read and interpret and react to a workout. To me, that's really all that it's useful for without bringing every other possible variable into the conversation.
Yeah, I was just trying to look because there's an EMOM coming up on day 5. Biking and wall balls, but
can confirm it's terrible.
Can confirm. I think Sherb's note is really important, that it's an EMOM specifically, like a very specific, like every minute on the minute. Like that seriously restricts us as programmers from certain like ways that we can program. Like I can't program a triplet like with rowing and like double unders because half the time you're going to spend clipping your feet into the rower, and then there's like it's very,
you have to be extremely safe.
You have to be extremely safe with it, and if it's too safe, then there's plenty of people who don't get the intended effect. Some people who just like get buried by it. So it's extremely personal. And also when you fix a clock like that, so let's extrapolate it out to like every 5 minutes for 5 rounds. So there's obviously a lot more work that you can put in at that time. But again, like you have an athlete who can hammer rounds 1 and 2, but don't have the aerobic function to recover before their next round. All of a sudden, like, because it's an EMOM, the more that you work, like that pendulum is really big. Like if you work 10 seconds longer than the last one, well, you also lose 10 seconds of rest. So there's a really big swing that occurs with the work to rest ratio, making it just like difficult unless we know that 30 wall balls in a minute are probably going to happen. We know people can row at this pace, like those sorts of things, but it's it's too personal to program consistently and effectively without knowing like the athlete that you're writing it for specifically.
We love it for lifts and skill, and you'll see it a lot there as well.
All right. This one is from Danny M, 1991. What can an athlete do to get better at triple extension when cleaning and snatching?
It is fate that the triple extension master of the universe gets to start with this question.
Is it my question?
Yes.
Definitely not talking to me.
I keep forgetting whose order it is. So can you say it again, Ted? I only pay attention.
Mastering the triple extension.
Yeah,
Mastering
what can
the
an
triple-
athlete do to get better at triple extension when cleaning and snatching?
All right, I'll start with
Birth.
I'll start with
First, I was born.
Here's a little story I got to tell.
songs you can rap the entirety of for 100. One is, why do you need to? Do you define yourself as somebody who is so good at getting underneath a bar so quickly that you like don't
I'm guessing
use
this person struggles with it and
your
would like
hips
help.
and legs? The alternative is the exercises that I will give to athletes if I think that they're not doing that involve like starting in like the power position or something like that. Basically, a variant of the Olympic lift that minimizes how much leg drive you can get and maximizes how aggressively and rapidly you need to extend hips, knees, and ankles in order to pull under a bar. So like the power position stuff that we program is really good. That could be like pulls and like snatch pulls and snatch deadlifts and really any of those variants of the Olympic lifts where the emphasis is on the extension itself. But from just like things that we program super consistently, the power position stuff's a really good place to start.
Yeah, the power position stuff forces you to hit that triple extension. And as you're working through it, you can create a skill complex where you could even potentially begin with a pull. So you begin with that pull. Okay, I know that I'm capable of triple extension from the floor. Now I go to power position, then I go to low hang, and then I actually clean or snatch again from the floor. What I will say is I loved back in the day when I followed programming that had blocks because I didn't need triple extension. You can just pull under the bar because the weight's supported for you. So I wouldn't recommend using that. I know a lot of people's brains would go to, oh, he wants me in power position. I'm just going to use the blocks. I don't have to deadlift it every single time, but make sure you don't do that. You want that grip factor involved. You want gravity trying to pull the bar out of your hands to get there. And then, make yourself do it and put a camera on yourself. You might think that because you are getting better at it, that you are hitting triple extension. Prove it. Get the camera out. Everybody's got the 1,000,000 frames per second now. You can scroll through and see the positions that you're hitting.
Set your ego aside and go lighter. A lot of athletes try to make these changes and they're at that weights that are just not allowing them to make said change. So for some people that means empty bar. Some athlete that means, 40 kilos. It depends on who you are as an athlete and where you are in your journey. But for a lot of people, they're just so anxious to put weight on the barbell that they do like 2 reps and go, I think I figured it out. And they go into their session without spending the requisite time you need to actually make that change, which is hundreds and hundreds of reps.
I can think of a couple athletes that are affiliate level who are extremely strong, but don't maximize the use of their legs and their hips.
Thank you.
And sometimes you're welcome. One thing you can do is like doing other exercises, maybe not with the barbell, that force that sort of hip, knee, ankle extension. Like a super heavy Russian kettlebell swing is great. Obviously more hips and knees than ankles, but also things like just super explosive, like vertical leaps. Like you need to know what it feels like to achieve triple extension and then, put a bar in your hands and
that is true because I've never hit triple extension in my life and I like it translates to other movements. You really got to think about your hip extension within a muscle up. You got to think about your hip extension within a box jump, knowing that you can just drive your knees to your chest, that sort of thing. So it's a good call to audit it elsewhere.
All right. Last 2 questions.
Triple extension.
One kind of leads into the other. So Ryan McKay is back and he asks, why does Sherb suck at rowing?
Chirp.
Did you not retest?
I didn't retest. No,
What did he get on his retest?
like a minute 40 faster.
So
he was like a 17:27, which is
you sniffing that?
I don't think so.
What's the split?
I realistically think I could. I think when I did an 1855, it was just over like a 150. So he's doing like a 146 or something like that for that time. Or
you're also the type to like set the bar too high to catch once someone smashes you. I don't know if you got it in you to go out there and.
I would need the right circumstances. Actually, I was talking to your athlete Brady about this. Like you need the sun needs to be in the right quadrant of the sky, and the birds need to be chirping, and I need to have ate the right dinner last night.
How'd his retest go? Did he melt down again?
On his
Brady,
rower?
you listening?
I don't know if he did it.
I don't know if he has it. I programmed the retest for him.
I know you programmed it.
Yeah,
he and I talked about the way he was going to do it.
Oh,
so
really?
you might want to double check that.
Yeah, I will. I'll find him.
Yeah, no, that's a minute and a half improvement for Ryan. Super impressive. That to me is someone going like, all right, I saw what I had in week 1. I'm going to work really hard at something, and I like having the competitive vibe. Like we talk about setting aside your ego so you can kind of focus on you, but there are times like test and retest where it's, hey, let's see what everyone else has, and fuck, I think I can beat that and go for it. So to watch him do that's pretty impressive. To say, I know I have this in the bag, and then put the work in and make it happen is what we're all about when it comes to test and retest.
True.
All right. From Aiden Bailey, that guy 347. Who are you predicting for Hunter v. Sherb this year?
Wow. This is open.
2-2 last year,
this is open only
Technically 2-2. Yeah,
because of the lift.
because of the lift.
Yes.
What was the other workout he beat you at? What was the workout that he beat?
It was dumbbell snatch.
No. I beat you in the.
He beat the last
beat
two.
the 2 workouts.
The bar,
he won the first
bar
one,
muscle up
last
and the
workout.
complex after.
Oh,
he
your
beat
singles?
me. Yeah, my singles.
Coach, I did 16 in a row though.
You do that workout. That sucked.
Yeah,
That was
suck. I
hard.
can't confirm.
You're
it
just not
sucks.
soft that often, so when you are, it's fun to make fun of you.
I was trying not to be soft, but I was soft.
You failed.
I was fucking trying.
You failed.
margarine.
Yeah, it was like canola oil margarine. Melted.
Oh my goodness. True prediction. I don't know. Hunter's been slinging a little weight.
Yeah, that's about it though. My Metcons have not felt great lately.
I think
on,
Hunter.
deadlift
I think
and
Hunter
walk.
will win 3-1. I think there'll be a lift, and Hunter's going to win 3-1.
I like it. Thank you.
Fuck. Is there a pot to stir? Like a
Start stirring that jug in front of you.
We good? We done?
Word.
What's your prediction? Sherb v. Hunter.
4-0 sweep.
For me,
You're gonna sweep him?
for Hunter.
Yeah, for Hunter.
For Hunter. Yeah, nice. Thanks.
I want to go 3-1, but I'm going to go in my direction, not his.
I would say 3-1. Same my direction. Well, wait, hold on. Well, to be fair, I won. I won the tiebreak last year. It was the standard. We did it on Instagram Live.
Oh, that's
Muscle
true.
up, clean and jerk, snatch. We did it in the wrong order though.
That is true. You did win.
I won the tiebreaker. What actual open was tied? What was the year before? Did I win the year
I think it
before?
was a 5-0 sweep for me.
I think so. Yeah.
I do not remember that.
We haven't done a
guys don't
5-week
remember this?
open in
Come
like
on,
6
guys.
years, so I don't know.
I'm excited for it.
All right, ladies and gents,
excited
thank you for
it's
tuning into another episode of the
At 3
Misfit
p.m.
Podcast.
Three workouts at 3
and
p.m.
thank you to our show sponsors,
us.
properfuel.co. Use the code word Misfit to save on your first order. Sharpentheaxeco.com. Use the code word Keala, Keala, to save 10% and donate 10% to the Keala Foundation. PureSpectrumCBD.com. Use the code word Misfit to save on all orders. And MisfitAthletics.com, TeamMisfit.com, and the SugarWOD Marketplace for all your programming needs. As always, I'm at Misfit Coach on Instagram. Slide into those DMs. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you would like to hear next. See you next week.